Hey guys, in this video I wanted to show you how I created this ultimate guide to working with an automation agency, which is a really meaty piece of content that's extremely useful for people that are looking to work with an automation agency. And I used Perplexity, Claude, Napkin AI, and also got this little image here out of Midjourney. So I'm going to go through the whole process that I went through with this. This isn't going to be a, hey, I automated everything and it was easy peasy. Like, this took hours, right? This is a long piece of content. And I would say that it's still not where I would like it to be, but everything is iteration over time. So I want to show you the process of developing a highly useful and detailed, comprehensive piece of content like this. You can see down here, we've got a table of contents. We've got understanding automation agencies, the whole gamut of working through the topic maps of working with an automation agency. If I start to scroll down, we've got internal links. We've got good structure throughout this. We've got images, which we use Napkin to create those images. I'll show you how to do that. You can see we've got more images here. This is a really comprehensive ultimate guide. It's got a bunch of links in here as well to a bunch of relevant platforms. So, I'm going to show you the process of how I spent a good few hours developing this piece of content over the past couple of days. So first things first, let's just go through the tools once more. So we're going to use Perplexity AI. You do kind of need a pro plan for these because you just get much better output. So you got Perplexity AI. We've also got Claude. We're going to be using the projects feature in Claude. So again, that's a pro feature. And then we also have Napkin AI. So Napkin AI is a really cool tool that allows you to create visuals, so images from text that you drop in. So we'll also sign into that, and I'll show you the process of how we use that as well. So let's start with Perplexity. Now, the reason why I like to start here is because Perplexity has a really good feature that it allows it to actually search the internet and do research. So right at the beginning of this process, I was looking at the keywords that I wanted to start ranking for. An automation agency, business automation agency, and AI agency. These are all keywords that are high value and I want to start ranking for. And I thought I'm going to start with automation agency just now and then move on to AI agency after we started to build out some of the automation agency functions. So I recommend that you come over to trends.google.com and find what keywords are trending in your niche and what you want to start ranking for. You can also see down here that I use Glimpse. I've got a free Glimpse add-on for trends, which just makes it a little bit more powerful. You can get a bunch more extra data in here if you use Glimpse. So I would recommend checking that out as well. But let's go back to Perplexity. And this was the prompt that I used, right? So there's nothing crazy here. And bear in mind, guys, I'm not an SEO expert. I know enough to be dangerous, but SEO is not my forte. So, I'm using the best knowledge that I have around SEO to do this. So you're an SEO expert that has deep knowledge of new technology and SEO tactics. I want to rank for the following search terms: automation agency, AI agency, and AI automation agency. What are the tactics that an expert SEO would take to do this? So if I click down here, one thing I love about Perplexity is you actually get to see it working. So you can see after it's done its search here that you can see the steps that it took and the sources that it's going to cite here, and then it's going to come out with a good answer, right? So the first thing is keyword research and content strategy, on-page optimization, technical SEO. So just going into details about what you want to do to start ranking for these search terms. Obviously, we're just looking to create content right now, right? So the other stuff down here, local SEO, user experience, we're not going to pay any attention to that stuff right now, though that is good content. The first thing that we want to do is just do this keyword research and content strategy. So I'm going to show you what I then typed after this. So you will execute step 1 in this process. You'll make this the best work that you've ever produced with insights, explanations, and in-depth knowledge. And you can see down here, it's doing a bunch of research in the pro search. part here, and then it's giving us a comprehensive keyword strategy and research down here, right? So it says down here it uses SEO tools like Ahrefs, SEMrush, and keywords, Google's keyword planner, but I don't really know how it's going to obtain that data if it hasn't got like a paid plan that it's using. Maybe it plugs into the API. I'm not too sure. If you do know about that, let me know in the comments below, because I'd love to know how it says that it's using Ahrefs and SEMrush, or whether it's just saying that, right? So the primary keywords here are automation agency, AI automation agency. Then it's giving us a bunch of long tail keywords for each one of those primary keywords, which is really useful. So we've got business process automation agency, robotic process. So these are all things that are related to those. Related terms and concepts, search intent analysis. So it's giving us ideas around like informational and commercial and transactional intent. Then it's going into the content strategy development. So first off, what it wants us to do is start creating pillar pages, right? So the ultimate guide to automation agencies, transforming business through intelligent solutions. So there's a bunch of stuff to get stuck into here. I mean, I love this as well. It's even giving us the clusters, the content clusters. One thing that I find, by the way, when you do something like this with an AI tool or an LLM, you get an output that you really like this one, for example. This is really, really useful. The best thing that you can do is just grab this response. So copy it, open up a new doc, and just drop that response in here, because then you can reference that again in the future, because we can run the same searches in Perplexity or Claude or whatever, but you're going to get different. If I was to run this again, I would get a different output, right? I like this output. It's really useful. So you want to grab that, store it, so that when you want to go through this process again, you can give it this as an example and say, output using this as a template. Hope that makes sense. There's a little tip there for you. So the first thing that we want to do is let's start with the pillar page number one, right? So the ultimate guide to automation agencies is what it suggested. I want you to craft an in-depth outline for this content. You should make sure to include all relevant LSIs and identify internal linking opportunities for the supporting cluster content. You must make this content as useful as possible to the reader. That is your main goal. Your secondary goal is to craft the content to rank for the keyword automation agency. I always like to just make the main goal, making the content useful. I don't like it when it starts to just pad out and fluff out a bunch of stuff. So we need to take steps to just reduce that as much as possible. So you can see down here now that it's actually created a really, really good outline for the content. And it's comprehensive, right? So there are 12 sections in here. Measuring the success, case studies, future of automation agencies, how to choose the right automation agency, preparing your organization for automation, conclusion. This is a big outline, and it also gives a bunch of other keywords to include in the content. So what I did is I grabbed this and I dropped it into our outline here in Google Docs, right? So now we've got this to work with. So that was kind of like step one in doing the research and trying to get a good understanding of what's the content that we want to start producing to start ranking for the keyword automation agency. So now that we've got this outline, we now want to work with Claude in projects mode to be able to create the content here. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So next we're going to go over to Claude. I'm going to start a new project. So we're going to come into projects, create a project, and then we're just going to call this, I'm going to use this keyboard down here so it doesn't keep wobbling the camera. So we're going to call this Ultimate Guide to Working with Automation Agency. Create project. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to click on File. I'm going to download this as a Microsoft Word. We're going to come back into here and I'm going to drop that into the project knowledge. Then I'm going to, once that's uploaded now, and I'm going to share with you the prompts that I've used here to, again, get to this output of what we're trying to get to here, which is this huge piece of content that is, it truly is an ultimate guide, right? I mean, you do see these ultimate guides on, you see them everywhere. The ultimate guide is kind of a little bit of a cliche. It's a little bit of a meme now, the ultimate guide, but I actually kept the ultimate guide here because I do feel like this is the ultimate guide to working with an automation agency. It's got everything in it, everything that you might want to know. So let's go back over to Claude. I'm just going to grab my prompt. Okay, so we've got that. I'm just going to copy that in and then we can rework it if needed. So the prompt that I used here to get the tone that I like is, you're an expert SEO content writer. You have a distinct writing style that is to the point, no fluff, no cringe or cheesy phrases. You have a tone that exudes deep expertise and knowledge on your topics, and you write conversationally but not casual. You are responsible for reading the outline and writing section 1 for the article that is SEO optimized. So remember I said this outline's got 12 sections in it. The key here to get like really good in-depth content is to tackle it one section at a time. Okay. So I'm actually going to take this instruction here, always write in British English. I'm going to add that to the instructions here so we don't have to worry about that. So yeah, you will make it comprehensive, and your number one goal is to make the content useful to the reader. The outline is in the project knowledge. So let's take a look at that. So Claude's going to take a look at so he's going to call that project knowledge now. So we've got the outline stored in there, and it's going to give us an introduction. So you can see for an introduction, this is very comprehensive, right? And it's covering all of the bases in the in the outline. So we've got definition, growing importance of automation, and brief overview of how automation agencies drive digital transformation. Now, one thing that I like to do here is I actually like to make sure that Claude always uses artifacts to create the content. So I'm actually going to just come back here and say, make sure to always use artifacts to create the content. And if you don't know what artifacts are within Claude, I'll show you that now. So you'll notice that it starts to generate this little document here, and then it creates this artifact on the right hand side. And the reason I like to do that is because it actually formats everything correctly for you. So if you just wanted to copy all of that, and then if you come into a new document to start off creating the content, you can just copy this in, and it's going to keep like the H2 heading in there for you, and then away you go. So it's really easy to just start building this content out. So we're going to come back in, and then we're going to say, now I want you to move on to section 2. And then it's going to create a second artifact for that. Okay. So understanding automation agencies. Now you can see one of the things that it tends to do here, this is really good content. We've got like a description here, but then it starts to get very bullet pointy. And that's one thing that you'll start to notice throughout the content as you're kind of doing this process. It's going to start to bullet point a lot of stuff out. And though bullet points are like useful for easy reading, it can be a little bit overwhelming. It just looks, it kind of just looks like a whole bullet list of stuff, and you don't want that when you've got like a massive guide. You want there to be some narrative woven in to make it interesting to read and keep the user engaged, keep the reader engaged. So I'm actually going to give Claude a little bit of feedback here. And this is something that you're going to want to do that's personal to you and how you want the output to be. But for me, I like a little bit more narrative. I like there to be a balance between structure and narrative. So what's going to happen is I'm going to tell Claude that, and then Claude's going to overcompensate usually for narrative, and it's going to strip out all of the structure. That's what usually happens. And then we have to go back and say, you can add a little bit of structure in, and then it'll land somewhere in the middle. So we'll see if that happens this time around. So this content is good, but a little too structured in bullet points. can we weave more narrative into the content? So it's going to do a little revision. So you can see down here now, it's basically just stripped out all of the bullet points, which again is kind of like, it's a bit too overwhelming to read. It's just a lot of text, right? And so now we need to like course correct it and say, we do want some structure in here, just not everything to be structured. So you can use some structure to make the content easily digestible, but not every sentence. Let's go from there. So this is where you kind of get it here, and I've had this multiple times where it says, I'll revise the content to strike a better balance between narrative flow and structured information. That's actually like where you want it to be. So you can see down here that it's, to be honest, it's still only added a little bit in, just a little more structure where it makes sense. So I said at the beginning of this video, guys, like I'm showing you like exactly how this kind of works. You have to work with these systems to create the content that's right. This isn't just just prompt it, throw it into Claude, and it just does everything for you. Like we're working on this section by section, piece by piece, and trying to like massage each piece of this content as we go. Now I'm not going to do this for every 12 sections here, because again that took hours, right? So I don't want to make this video hours, but I do want to show you a couple of things. So once you've got a section where you want it to be and you're happy with it, you can see here that you can add it to current project. So I'm just going to go back up to the intro. Which is, where is it? Where's the intro button? There we go. So I'm going to go back to the intro, and then I'm going to click on add to current project. So now it's added in that section to our current project. I'm going to come down to our second section here, which is this one. Oh, it says it's already added that to the project. I think that was just a little bug there, so I'm just going to add this second one to the project. If I come back here now, you can see now we've got our intro and our understanding automation agency. So we've got these two sections in here. Now, the reason why you want to store those in here is because later on, I guarantee you that when you're reviewing the content, you'll want to edit it. You want to edit the content. And usually it's best, again, to just edit that in sections, because as you can see down here, this is an extremely long piece of content. And if you're trying to use Claude to just work on this one piece of content, and you throw this one piece of content into a prompt, or if you're asking it to reference the whole piece of content in the project knowledge, it's too much for it to kind of wrap its head around. It's going to forget stuff, in the middle and all that kind of good stuff. So what you want to do is keep the outline here, add in these sections as you go, once you've got them where you want them to be for your first draft. And then again, when you come back to change the content later on, you can come into the project here and you can say, I want to target the introduction more towards, let's just say, medium-sized businesses, right? So if I click on that, drop that in, it's going to start to refine that version. So now it's going to just work on the introduction. So you can now work on it section by section, which is really, really useful. So I love Claude Projects for this. It's just so good. To be able to just work with the LLM in this way is just, I don't know, it's just like a massive unlock. I remember when I first started out, on my agency journey a long time ago with my previous company called Tribecto. We were doing automation stuff. And I remember we used to hire a content agency to work with, and it would take them like 2 weeks to get some content over to us, and then we'd revise it, and then I'd have to provide feedback on certain bits of the content. But it was such a chore because you just knew that whatever the feedback was that you gave, they weren't necessarily going to align with what you were thinking, and then it would take another round of free feedback, and then you'd end up just having to go, oh, it'll do, just to get it out and get it done. Whereas working with Claude and LLMs to be able to go through this process, my days, does it actually save you so much time, and is the output so much better? So yeah, content agencies, I think, are struggling, right? If they aren't, I think they will be soon. I hope they figure out another way around it. But yeah, that used to be a very painful process that for me, I'm glad no longer exists. So you can see down here, like this is how to start building out the content, right? So let me just grab that second piece here. We're going to just grab this. I'm going to drop this into here. And again, guys, we're starting to build this out, but this isn't done. You know, you really do need to review and edit all of this stuff. So it's still going to take you a good few hours to get like a really good piece of content out of this, because it doesn't require work. The system's not going to do everything for you. You know, these cheesy phrases at the beginning, you try and prompt it out, but it still does it. Rapidly evolving landscape of digital transformation. I don't know why it insists on putting those sentence starters in there. I mean, just start it from there, right? Like automation agencies have emerged as pivotal players, guiding businesses through complexity. You can edit that, but it always kind of starts with this kind of, in today's fast-paced business landscape, it's always trying to like paint a picture of like a landscape for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway, so you start to build these sections out, and then you can rework them and edit them down from there. But once you've got it to a point that you're happy with, and so what about the images, right? Because if we look back on our piece of content, we've got like some really good images here that are related to the content. So measuring success of automation initiatives. We got a bunch of KPIs in here, right? So efficiency, finance, quality, employee related, all of those things. So we were able to like build all of that into this little infographic here to show that information and have it a little bit more engaging. So you can see, guys, like I want to come back through and edit some of this stuff. Everything's an iteration, but the content in here is good for now. And we've also got like case studies and stuff like this as well that I'll come back onto in a second. So if we come over to Napkin AI, I'm just going to click on new napkin. I'm going to go blank napkin. This tool's free right now because it's in beta. So I would highly recommend checking it out. But if I just copy our content in, you can see down here that it has this little bar down the left-hand side, right? And what that means is if you click on this little icon, it's going to create an image for the content that is within this blue bar. So this whole thing. Now, if I break this up, I can break it up like this. And now you can see that I can just create like a piece of content for each of these little pieces here. So what I like to do is do it where it kind of makes sense. So I'm going to break this up a little bit. And then you've got like this bullet point list here. So if I click on this, you can see it's now going to start to create this infographic. This is really cool. So it's going to give you a bunch of different types of infographics that you can use. Some are more useful than others. So for example, here, like this one's pretty cool. Automation agencies, and then it's going to like show like 4 different types. You got this one here, types of automation agencies. It's a little infographic. There's this style. So there's a bunch of different styles that you can use. I'm just going to use this one for now. And there's a bunch of different other features that you can do as well. Like you can change the type of the font. You can change the color of stuff. You can even click into here and change the text as well if you want to. I'm just going to click download as a PNG. I'm going to put it on light mode so that the background is light mode, which means that it will give us a different, it's not going to make the text white. And then you're going to come into here and then you can just drop that in, right? So Obviously, you're going to put this in whatever CMS you're using. I build all our websites on Framer, so I'm using the Framer CMS. So yeah, you can see how you start to build this out. Now, one thing that I just want to share just before we wrap this one up, because I think this is also really interesting. If we come back to Perplexity, you want to have like Claude and Perplexity open at the same time as you're building your content out. If I come back over here, you can see that in section 10, it talks about the case studies, right? So case studies, successful automation agency partnerships. So I asked Perplexity, because Perplexity has access to the internet and can actually do research. I said, I want you to do the research for section 10, find data on real world businesses that implemented automation successfully. So it goes away, it finds real world case studies, and then it brings together these answers here, right? So we got Coca-Cola, Vonage, NetSpark, Mercy Health, MongoDB, Flutter, Dentsu, a whole range of different businesses. The key thing here, though, is that it also gives us the links to where these case studies live, right? So there's a bunch of different links in here, which then allows me to, as I was creating this section in Claude, and then actually uploading it into into Framer afterwards, we can start to link in these case studies so that this, that this is actually a useful piece of content, right? And it is linking references to where the content came from. And again, it's also then giving Google the signal that this is a piece of content that's been well researched. It links to pieces of content that's relevant, and all that good stuff, right? So yeah, I just wanted to show you that. I wanted to share that. This video has gone a little bit longer than I expected, but I just think this is such a really, really cool use case for AI and SEO. And, it's not like hey, just plug it in and prompt it, and then it's just going to give you the content and then you just publish it. Like, that's not how this works. That's not how you're going to get like the best content out of these tools. It's going to do like 80% of the work for you, but that other 20% is really where you're going to actually turn it into valuable content. If this took me in total, and again, like I want to iterate on it, but this piece of content in total took me probably around about 5 hours, including all of the, working with all of the tools and also, generating the images and uploading everything, formatting everything, getting the table of contents ready. It probably took me about 5 hours. But this whole piece of content, I think, is around about 5,000 words, something like that. Let's actually do a quick look. So let's do a quick look here. Word count. This is 8,000 words. Maybe that's too long. I don't know. We'll let Google decide, right? But this is an 8,000 word ultimate guide. So you can imagine if this was being written from scratch, this would have taken like a month or two to get ready. So the fact that we can have something that is of use and its priority is usefulness to people that are researching, working with automation agencies and want to learn more about that, to have that done in like 5-6 hours is just crazy. And again, there's going to be multiple things to add in here, multiple other links to other pieces of content that we're going to create off the back of this. But this is such a strong pillar post to get started with from an SEO strategy perspective that, I just think it's amazing that we have access to these tools now for a few, dollars, pounds, whatever it is that you pay per month. So hopefully, anyway, I hope this has been useful, guys. There will be a automation tutorial coming later in the week. I just wanted to drop this one today because I literally just finished up this process and wanted to share it while it was fresh. So if you've enjoyed the video, if you got anything out of it, do drop a like. It really helps with the content, with the channel, sorry. Subscribe if you haven't already, or consider subscribing at least. And you got any questions or any feedback, and I'm learning with you guys here, drop them into the comment and I will be happy to respond. So I'll speak to you soon. Cheers.